Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do some much needed bike maintenance on the old 450 here. The big girl has been rode hard the last couple times, and I got to do some things to it. We got to do, let's see, we got to do an oil change, we got to tighten the spokes, clean the air filter, adjust the chain, and I think that's everything. So quite a few items. So I got to get it on or off of the stand here and on the side stand so we can change the oil. But first off, let's fire it up, get the oil warm, then we can drain it out, and we'll go from there. Alright, got the old girl warmed up, but before I take it off the stand and put it on the side stand, I'm going to go ahead and check my spokes. And basically what I'm doing here is I have a spoke torque wrench, but I don't ever check the spokes with it because these spokes get kind of corroded, and the nipples get kind of a little bit of corrosion in them, and so the torque wrench will say yeah they're tight, but in reality they may just need to break free a little bit and they could be loose. So I always check it by hand, just by feel. And I mean, really the easiest way to do it is just skip every two spokes. So I'm going to start from my whatever you call this, rim lock, and we're going to start there, and I'm just going to go ahead, give it a little bit of torque, skip every two, and as you can see, they're all pretty tight. I keep up on their spoke maintenance, and you know, do that. You don't ever blow out a wheel or have any issues like that. So good stuff, you know, and everybody needs to be doing this stuff. Nobody does, but everybody needs to do this. And by doing this often, you also keep the threads nice and freed up. If you don't check your spokes but every 8 or 10 rides, or maybe even more than that, stuff seizes up. You gotta gotta free it up a little bit, give it some movement here. Okay, let's hit this back, or this front wheel. I'll move to the back, get it done, and we'll move on to the next thing. Alright guys, got the bike on the side stand. We're going to pull the dipstick, get it out. Bike's a little bit warm. Put it right here for now. Ooh, that oil is dark. Darker than I normally let it get. I'm going to pull the fill plug here, and this just allows the engine to breathe and drain the oil quicker. Now there's two drains on this. There is one right here that is a 12 millimeter. On the other side, I think it's like a 14 or 15 or whatever, but I'm going to pull this 12 first, get my breather hose out of the way so I don't just cover it in oil. And then yank that baby first, drain that, then we'll yank the other side, drain that. I'm going to pull the skid plate off too, kind of clean it up while I'm here, and it's with some 8 millimeter bolts. And while we're letting the oil drain, we're going to go ahead and take our oil filter, drop it in there, and we're going to take the good old Shell Rotella T4 1540, which I use on every single machine that I own, whether it's my lawnmower or my 450. This stuff is amazing. By the way, on my oil change video that I have for the 450, somebody commented that I should never soak the oil filter before I put it in. And to that, I'm like, why would I not do that? The oil filter is soaked in oil its entire life. What difference does it make if I put it in and soak it right now versus leaving it in, putting it in dry and letting the motor have to pump oil into the filter housing and then back through the motor? I don't get it. It doesn't make a difference to me. It just makes more sense to me. My common sense in my brain is saying, hey, a wet oil filter will prime quicker than a dry oil filter. So wet it down, soak it. I've done it this way for years. Never had a problem. So I'm going to keep doing it this way. Not to say the guy's wrong. I'm just saying that it makes more sense to me to do it this way. So I'm going to keep doing it this way. This bike takes 1,000 milliliters, which, or cc's, whatever you want to call it, of oil. And I just run this little K&N 141 filter because I couldn't find a Maxima filter on Amazon the other day. So this is what I got. Here's your oil filter cover right here. This bottom one is actually supposed to be a drain. So that would be this one right here, this larger head. But if I'm being totally honest with you, it doesn't work. Never has worked for me. And usually it clogs up with any kind of clutch, you know, material and things like that that gets into the engine oil. So I don't ever depend on it or worry about it for that matter. So now I'm going to make a big mess. See, there goes the oil. But we can clean that up with some contact cleaner, no problem. There we go. Oh, looks like I used a K&N last time also. That's kind of funny. I did not know that. Apparently I usually use Maxima filters, but I haven't had one in a minute. Okay, by the way, it's a great time to inspect your oil filter, see if you have any shavings in there and things like that, which this one looks pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. And don't lose your O-rings. There's 3 O-rings there and one big one on the door, so don't lose those. You would be really mad come startup when you got oil spitting out everywhere. Okay, I'm going to wipe this out and kind of get that cleaned up. We'll throw our new oil filter in and button this baby back up. Okay, that's it. Oil change is done. I'm gonna fire it up. We'll check it later, and then we'll put the skid plate back on later. Okay, now we're gonna do the air filter, yank it off, clean it up real fast, and we're gonna have to let it dry once we oil it. And then what else was there I need to do? Top it off with coolant. That was the other thing, and tighten the chain. That was the other thing I need to do. Okay, guys, here is the Twin Air air filter cleaning kit that I have. This is the oil. This is the cleaner, and I love this setup. Used it a couple times now and couldn't be happier. So what we're gonna do is take our air filter out, dip it in here, clean it up real good, rinse it with water, let it dry, and then we'll dip it in the oil. I took the lid off the oil just to show you guys how that works, but basically you just fully submerge it, squeeze it out, and you're clean. I actually have an air filter cleaning video. I'll link it up here, and you guys can see it. And yeah, I'll put a link down below of these 2 kits also, or this kit right here. Freaking awesome. I love it, and it stores itself. It's got lids right there for everything. So let's rip the air filter out and get this baby squoze up, cleaned up. She's a bit dirty. Not too bad, but dirty. That looks better. Give her an old rinse, call it good. Okay, got the air filter cleaned, and now I'm going to go ahead and clean out the the little bit of grease that I put on the edge of the air filter every time I put it in, get that cleaned up. You can see how much dirt gets in that air box after so many washes and everything. And then look how clean that air boot is. Looks freaking awesome. So air filter is doing its job. Super, super happy. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take some of this waterproof grease, and rather than put it on the filter, I actually like to put it on the actual air box itself, because it's a lot easier to apply with a brush. And you know, to be totally honest with you, I'm not so sure that I totally believe the grease is necessary, but I do it anyway because I've never had an issue with anything getting past my air box as long as I have greased it. So I'm just gonna keep doing it. You know, it's kind of like the oil argument, you know. Oh, you should use a different oil because it's better for your engine. It's like, well, I've never blown an engine up, so I'm gonna keep the oil I got. I'm gonna keep using the oil I've used, and keep doing it that way. So anyway, I find this a lot easier to do with a brush and on the actual boot itself, the air boot, whatever you want to call it, and it ends up being a little bit cleaner, because then I don't have grease on my air filter as I'm trying to install it. So cool, there we go. We just have a light coat of grease on there. I tighten that up, air filter will seal against it. We'll be golden, be money money. Okay, we're going to tighten the old chain up. It's not very loose, but just a little bit. So I do the 3-finger trick here, and basically just right behind the chain slider, you want to put your 3 fingers in here and say, okay, yeah, that's tight. But if you look, I can lift my 3 fingers up. Hold on, focus, there we go. And I still have just a little bit of gap. So it's not very loose, but it is just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and snug it up. Now, if you got fat fingers, obviously this is going to be a little bit different. But mine end up being about perfect for spec on the bike, and seems to work out really good. Now, if you guys have noticed in some of my videos, this even when my chain's adjusted, you can hear my chain kind of rattle a little bit. That's this primary drive chain block right here. It's just a little bit noisy, noisier than the stock one, but overall I love this chain block. I think it's wearing very nicely. It's got replaceable blocks in here, and I freaking love it. It's awesome. So yeah, I would definitely go with it, but it is a little bit louder than the normal one, and I have noticed a bit. But we're going to go ahead, break our back wheel loose, tighten that up just a little bit. And down here on these marks, too, when I say a little bit, like it's probably going to be half of a mark, and that'll do it. So it doesn't take much, but super crucial in keeping your chain nice and maintained, and keeps you from breaking a chain like old Jason Anderson did this last weekend. And yeah, I don't know what to say about that. He's a factory rider with factory equipment. How you break a chain on a bike, on a motocross track, I have no idea. That is crazy to me. Guess he busted some teeth out and broke his wrist or something. So gnarly stuff. But on these big bikes, these big bore bikes, chain maintenance is super important. What the heck? My power's going out. Okay, anyway, so let's break this loose. Let's adjust our chain slightly, and we'll be done with that. Oh my gosh. Always torque this too. Front axle, rear axle, I don't screw around with that stuff. Always torque it. Okay, don't want it super loose, just want it loose enough you can adjust it and stays tight on the sliders. Now, if I remember, torque on this is like 85 or 90 foot-pounds, so we're gonna go 85. We'll go 90. Mo better. We've covered everything else today. We tightened the spokes, adjusted our chain, changed our oil, cleaned our air filter, just the basic maintenance stuff. Now we're going to top off our coolant just a little bit. Somewhere down the line I got a little bit hot and kind of spit a little bit out because I'm just a tad bit low. As you can see right there, maybe you can see, maybe you can't, hold on, there we go. Your coolant needs to be almost flush with the top of the little neck there of the filler spout. So we're going to add just a little bit of coolant and call her good. And I use the Maxima Coolant. Love this stuff. So this Coolant, this is good for winter and summer, and some people use engine ice and swear by it, but the only bad thing about engine ice is if you don't store your bike in a climatized spot, then you're going to freeze the coolant. So this stuff will not freeze. This is winter summer blend, so good stuff. Good stuff. Cool. And that's it right there. Call her good. And here's the thing about using coolant, or topping off your coolant. If you do get it just a little bit too full, it will just go out the overflow and level itself out. So not a huge deal. Don't worry too much about it. Actually, whenever I put coolant in, I've actually never measured it. I just fill it, burp it, do all that kind of stuff, and ends up working out good. So that is topped off. Make sure my seal is still good on this, which it's awesome. Awesome. And I also have a high pressure radiator cap on it too, so raises the boiling point just a little bit on the coolant, and keeps your bike a little cooler. Pretty nice. Okay, that is done. Okay guys, the air filter is dry. We're gonna go ahead and dump it in a tub, get the oil in it, and squeeze all the oil out. And then I'm gonna go ahead and install the oil, or the air filter, because I'm not gonna ride this bike today. It'll be dry by tomorrow, and works out fine. You should let the oil dry, but it can be in the bike and dry just fine. So as long as you're not gonna ride it immediately. The oil tacks up is what happens, and it never really gets fully dry, but it just tacks up. So let's dunk it now, get it installed, and got everything else on the bike wrapped up. So we're almost done here. Jeez, your boy made a mess. God, don't give me crayons. I might eat them or something. That's a bad deal. Okay, I got the air filter installed. I wasn't actually going to show that because if you guys have ever installed an air filter, you know that it pretty much every time you try to do it on camera, you can't put it on. So I do need to clean the air box out. Probably next time I wash it, plug up that hole and or wrap the air filter and wash it out. But put the seat on, and that will wrap everything up. Alright guys, we got the air filter back on. We've wrapped everything up. Calling it a success. This is all the maintenance you guys should be doing on your own anyway. I would never pay a shop to do any of this stuff. Oil changes, topping off the coolant, tightening the spokes, the chain, that kind of stuff. You guys should know how to do this. If you own one of these bikes, hopefully this is something that you do to keep up on it, because otherwise you're going to pay an arm and a leg just to get this stuff done sometimes. So hope it was helpful. Give me a like. Please subscribe if you haven't. Got more stuff coming, and back on the bike build next video. So we'll see you then. Thanks.